My ex-wife cheated on me with my golden child brother and gave birth to his baby. Now, my family. Before we dive in, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Alright, let's get started. If you're excited about this story, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback really inspires me to gather more uplifting and meaningful stories. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The house in front of me was all too familiar, yet it now felt like enemy territory. My phone buzzed on the seat beside me, the screen lighting up with a message from my mother. "Please, Shanley, come inside. We need to talk." My heart pounded in my chest as the weight of betrayal and heartache threatened to crush me. My ex-wife, Heather, had cheated on me with my brother, Evan, the golden child of the family. To make matters worse, she had given birth to his baby. And now, my family wanted to talk. What could they possibly say to make this right? The story really began 5 years ago when Heather and I first got married. We were young and in love, and the world seemed full of promise. Our wedding was a grand affair, with friends and family gathered to celebrate our union. Evan, my older brother, was my best man, and everything seemed perfect. Evan had always been the favored one, excelling in everything from academics to sports, while I struggled in his shadow. But that day, I felt like I had something he didn't: a beautiful wife and a promising future. For the first few years, things were great. Heather and I built a life together, full of shared dreams and plans for the future. We talked about starting a family, buying a house, and growing old together. Evan, meanwhile, continued his meteoric rise in his career, becoming the pride and joy of our parents. There was always a part of me that envied him, but I tried to focus on my own happiness. Then, about 2 years ago, things started to change. Heather became distant, often making excuses to stay out late or avoid spending time with me. I thought it was just the stress of work and daily life taking its toll, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I voiced my concerns, but Heather always reassured me, saying I was just being paranoid. It wasn't until last year that the truth came out. I came home early from work one day to find Heather and Evan in a compromising position in our bedroom. The image of them together burned into my mind, and I felt my world shatter around me. The betrayal cut deep, not just from Heather but from my own brother, the person I had trusted and looked up to my entire life. In the heated confrontation that followed, Heather confessed that she and Evan had been having an affair for over a year. She was pregnant, and there was no doubt that Evan was the father. The news hit me like a freight train, and I felt as if the ground had been ripped out from under me. I moved out that night, leaving behind everything I had built with Heather. The divorce was swift and painful. I couldn't stand to be in the same room as Heather or Evan, and our once close-knit family was torn apart. My parents tried to remain neutral, but it was clear they were more sympathetic to Evan, their golden child. I was the outsider, the one who had lost everything. In the months that followed, I tried to rebuild my life. I found a small apartment, threw myself into work, and tried to move on. But the pain of betrayal lingered, a constant reminder of what I had lost. I cut off contact with my family, unable to face the people who had hurt me so deeply. Now, a year later, I was back at the house I had once called home. My mother's message had been vague, but she insisted that it was important. As I sat in the car, debating whether to go inside, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and curiosity. What could they possibly have to say to me now? I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. The familiar crunch of gravel under my feet brought back a flood of memories, both good and bad. I walked up to the front door and knocked, my heart pounding in my chest. My mother answered almost immediately, her face etched with worry and regret. "Shanley," she said, reaching out to hug me. "Thank you for coming." I nodded stiffly, stepping inside. The house smelled the same, a mix of my mother's cooking and my father's cologne. But it no longer felt like home. My father was sitting in the living room, looking older and more tired than I remembered. Evan and Heather were nowhere to be seen. "Please, sit down," my father said, gesturing to the couch. I sat, feeling the tension in the air. "What's this about?" I asked, my voice strained. My mother sat down beside me, tears in her eyes. We owe you an apology, Shanley. We were wrong. We should have supported you, but instead, we let Evan's actions tear our family apart. We've realized how much we've hurt you, and we want to make things right. I looked at her, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. And what about Evan? And Heather? Where are they? They're not here, my father said. We told them they needed to stay away today. This is about you, Shanley. About us trying to heal the rift we've caused. I shook my head, feeling the anger rise within me. You think an apology is going to fix this? You think saying sorry is enough to erase what happened? No, my mother said, her voice trembling. We know it's not enough. But we want to try to start over. To show you that we're truly sorry. Evan and Heather, they've made their choices, and they have to live with the consequences. But we don't want to lose you, Shanley. You're our son, and we love you. I felt a lump form in my throat. I had spent so long feeling angry and betrayed, but beneath it all, I still longed for my family's love and acceptance. It's going to take time, I said finally. A lot of time. We understand, my father said, his eyes filled with regret. But we're willing to do whatever it takes. We want you back in our lives, Shanley. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to heal. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but I was willing to try. I looked at my parents, seeing the sincerity in their eyes, and nodded. Okay, I said quietly. Let's try. Over the next few months, my parents and I began the slow process of rebuilding our relationship. We had long, difficult conversations about the past, about the pain and betrayal we had all experienced. It wasn't easy, and there were many moments when I wanted to walk away. But we kept at it, determined to find a way forward. During this time, I also had to face Evan and Heather. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done, confronting them about their betrayal and the impact it had on my life. Heather looked remorseful, her eyes filled with tears as she apologized over and over again. Evan, too, seemed genuinely regretful, admitting that he had let his jealousy and selfishness destroy our relationship. I know I can never make up for what I did, Evan said, his voice breaking. But I want to try to be a better brother, if you'll let me. It took everything in me to stay calm, to listen to their apologies without letting my anger consume me. It's going to take a long time for me to trust you again, I said finally. But I'm willing to give it a chance. For the sake of our family. As the months turned into a year, we slowly began to rebuild. It wasn't easy, and there were many setbacks along the way. But with each conversation, each act of forgiveness, we took another step towards healing. I found myself spending more time with my parents, reconnecting with them in ways I hadn't thought possible. Evan and I began to mend our relationship, finding common ground and rebuilding the bond we had once shared. Heather and I, too, found a way to coexist. It wasn't the same as it had been before, and it never would be. But we found a way to move forward, to put the past behind us and focus on the future. She and Evan were raising their child together, and I saw how much they had changed, how committed they were to making things right. Through it all, I learned that forgiveness is a process, not a destination. It's about choosing to let go of the past, to focus on the present and the future. It's about finding a way to move forward, even when it seems impossible. One evening, as I sat with my family around the dinner table, I looked at the faces of the people who had once hurt me so deeply. I saw the love and regret in their eyes, the commitment to making things right. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. We had been through hell and back, but we had come out the other side stronger. Our family was far from perfect, but we were finding a way to heal, to move forward. And that, I realized, was all I could ask for. Crazy, right? But hold on, because the next story is going to blow your mind even further. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback is my fuel to gather more inspiring and meaningful stories. Thank you.